Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and I'm going to show you how to install a Mosaic backsplash tile right here on this island. So you can see I've already started some of it here, yesterday actually, and I'm just going to finish this last little bit here. So the tile we're using is basically a 12 by 12 tile, and we're going to end up cutting it to make it work for what we want to do. So you can see in this particular tile, we've got various different materials in it. There's glass, there's some stone, couple different stones, and there's some stainless panels as well. So there's a little bit of everything in this tile. So basically you start out with just determine what the best fit is for how you're going to need to cut the tile. This tile is attached, it's all little individual pieces, but it's attached with kind of a mesh backing. So it's really easy to cut. I just need to determine where I'm cutting it, which would be the same as these pieces. I'm going to cut it here. So just take your utility knife, stick it in between the rows, and just cut that mesh off. Now this one, we're kind of cutting a few rows out of it that we just didn't work for the space we had, and then we're reusing some of those pieces to fill in. So I'm just making up my pieces here. Typically, if you weren't working with a restricted height, you would just cut that tile in half or use the full tile and go ahead with it. But we kind of have a height restriction there, so we had to modify the sheets a little bit to make them work. So this just simply will interlock with the last piece that you left off. Now you can see I've got some rows above that yet. So in this case, all I was doing was cutting the appropriate size tiles off of these strips that we took off and filling in those last two rows. So just to make it work out for what we wanted. So to begin with, I'm going to be using just a mastic type glue adhesive to put these on. Because we're not really in a wet zone, and by that I mean we're not in a shower, we're not at the bathtub, we can use a mastic. You shouldn't use a mastic in a shower or a wet zone like that, because this mastic will just promote mold growth. So you definitely don't want to use it there, but on a backsplash application it'll work just fine. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can take your mastic with the appropriate trowel and apply it to the wall and just start sticking your tiles on. Because I was leaving off last night, I didn't want to get any mastic on the wall that was going to be, I guess my bucket's in the way. I didn't want to have any mastic left and trying to clean it out of these areas, because I knew I was going to stop last night and not finish the job. So I'm just applying it right on the back of the tiles, and I'll just continue doing that here today for the amount we have left. So just make sure you got your tile cut right, how you want it. Just simply take some mastic and apply it on the back of the tiles. So you're just rubbing it on there. Try not to force it down. We're obviously putting it on the back side, but try not to force it down into the grout line joints, because then you'll just have more cleaning up to do to get it out of there so that you have space for the grout. So I'm just kind of dabbing it on the actual tiles as much as I can, and then I just go across and stroke it out a bit so it's leaving some ridges. I'm sure you can see the ridges I have there in the mastic. Okay, so once I have it, I just take it up to the wall in the general area that I'm going and stick it on the wall. Now I want to push every individual tile on there. If you have a rubber float for doing grout or whatever, you can just kind of use it to kind of press this all on. And then just slide your tile one way or the other to get your grout lines where they butt into the last one, to space out the amount you want. Looks like I can get one more on here before we're going to deal with that plug-in and switch, so I'll stick that one on. So just try to make sure every tile has mastic on it. Work your way along there. I find when you're in a tight space like this, it's easier to put it on the tile as well. And you're not getting it all over the countertop or any other area on the wall that you don't want it. So I'll just put it all on here. Something like that. And pop this one in place. Blob there, get rid of it. Okay, so I've also I pulled the plug-ins and switches out, turned the breakers off, just for safety, so if I touch something, I don't get a shock. Okay, so we got those couple full ones on. Now basically we're going to use a piece of the tile trim, the metals on the end. I already have one on that end. So that'll be the position that we're going to stop. So at this point now, it's going to be just as easy for me to cut some of these pieces all apart, the different sizes, and put them in one by one, as opposed to trying to cut out that plug-in out of one of these sheets. If you're using, say, just some square tiles, 4x4s, 6x6s, 2x2s, whatever, then you'd be usually putting them on individually anyways, and just cut them to fit around the electrical. One thing with the electrical, with this style, the Decora style of plugs and switches, you not only need to, if I can move this enough out of the way, you not only need, use something to point here, you need to stay away from the hole in the box where the mounting screw for the receptacle or switch goes, but you also need to stay away just below that is where the mounting screw for the cover plate goes through. If you look right here, here's the mounting screw that goes in this box, the hole on the box. But right below it, this spot here, is where the little white screw is that you'll mount the cover with. And you can actually see where that screw has indented the drywall right here. So you need to make sure that you don't put any tile in those areas at all. Otherwise, you're going to have a heck of a time getting your switches in and also getting your covers to mount on there nice and flush. So just stay out of those areas. As long as you're close to that, like just under it, the cover will cover the whole, like the space anyways. So you just got to get up close but not cover it. So if I just move these a little bit out of the way, I'm going to put some mastic on the back of here. I already had figured out where my position was for this. So I'm just going to stick it on the wall right now so I don't forget it as I'm talking. So I just put some mastic right on the back of it, just like I did with the tile. And enough hands. I'll just push it into position. Right where I wanted it there. Clean off a little bit of that excess. So it doesn't dry before we get back to that. Now this mastic is water base, so you can simply clean it up. Don't leave it too long, but you can clean it up with some warm water to get it off. Okay, so I've got that stuck on there where I wanted it. Now what I need to do is start filling in some of these rows of tile. So my bottom row, this bunch of tile I have is not only 3 different products, but it's also 3 different sizes, like as far as width, and I don't even know how many different lengths. So there's a lot going on here. This one's a little more difficult to deal with because you got so many choices. So, oh, that one broke. So then what you want to do is just kind of figure out what tiles are going to work where, what cuts you need to make, and glue them individually onto the wall. So I'm just going to keep working away at that a little bit, and that way I can show you how to cut them as well. So this one will work just as a full tile. So So just put some mastic on the back and stick it on the wall, just like so. Now our next row is one of these a little bit narrower types of tile. So you're kind of looking at your pattern too. This one's pretty random, so you're trying not to get, in my case, trying not to get too many colors that are similar right side by side. So this one's going to have to be cut. I'm just going to take a Jiffy marker, and you could either measure it or just hold it up there where you want it to be, and put a marker line on it. Then I'm going to come down here to my snap cutter and just line that up with the little scoring wheel on here and score the surface like that. And then it's got this foot here that just, when you lean down or just push slightly down on it, it breaks the tile to a clean cut. Now that kind of fabric mesh is on the back, so you just have to cut it. With the glass tiles, that marker mark, if it's left on there, will just wipe right off. I'm going to put my factory end up to the end of the factory tile that is already on the wall. Make sure I'm not in the way of where those screws are going to be, and it looks good. Put a little bit of mastic on there. These little tiles are a little tougher to work with without getting it all over your hands. Slide it into the position you like. Double check those holes. And that one's there, so then I could just work my way up there all the way to the top, and same thing out to this end. Now going back here, I've got some full rows, and both rows are this. It's kind of up under the edge of the counter there, so it might be difficult for you to see. But really it's just the same process of what I just did down there by the plug-in. I'm just putting some mastic on. There's nothing to cut around here for a little ways. So I can just glue them on. Get my, use some different sizes. Whoa. Get the joint staggering. Like that. And just keep working my way along there. So that's what I'm doing with these pieces that are left over. I'm kind of using them as strips, or using them to get the strips out of that I need to finish the rows. The nice thing is that they do cut apart pretty easily, so it's not a big issue to work with. I'm just going to do a couple more here, and I think that's pretty much all you need to know for this. Oops. Trying to keep the tiles as clean as I can, so there's less to deal with cleaning it up before grouting. So that snap cutter that I was showing you, that'll work for pretty much any type of tile. What it won't be that good for, or actually any good for at all, is if you had some square tiles or some type of bigger tile, like maybe it's 4x4s just for an example, and you need to cut a corner out of it, like to go around, say, a plug-in or something. This cutter is not going to do that. You're going to need either an angle grinder with a masonry type cutting blade in it, or you're going to need a wet saw. So this snap cutter is really only good for straight cuts, where you're going completely across the tile. So that's the basics on installing a tile backsplash. A lot of the principles are the same installing any kind of tile on the wall, other than if you're in a wet area, you will definitely want to use a mortar instead of a mastic. But if you're in a kitchen like this where those tiles aren't constantly getting wet, the mastic is just fine. So I think that's the main thing. Remember, turn your power off. Once you're all done, you can put the plugs and switches all back in, like once it's all grouted, and put your covers on, and everything should be good. So I think that's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please click the thumbs up button up wherever you see it on your screen if you like this video. If you have any comments or questions about this or any other project that you might be looking after, please come to the forum at house-improvements.com. Right there you can ask, find the topic that kind of fits what you're wondering about, and post your question up there. I'll be sure to get back to you. I check it a couple, 3 times a day at least. So thanks for watching for now, and please check out all our other videos on our YouTube channel.